Alright guys, welcome back to another manga review. I am your Ice Dragon, Rayron. Got another book for you here. This is Sailor Moon Volume 5. So again, I'm going to go over kind of the contents of this volume. So if you don't want to get spoiled, feel free to watch this movie at a later date. So with that, let's go ahead and take a look at the particular chapters in this particular volume here. So we've got Hidden Agenda, Nemesis, Convert Maneuvers, Wise Man, Attack Black Lady, Showdown, Death Phantom, and Replay Never Ending. So, in this volume, we pick up what we kind of left off in Volume 4, that Chibi Moon, otherwise known as Rini, is abducted by our main antagonist, Wise Man. So Wise Man eventually gets control of Rini and converts her into, now in the 90s anime, it was called Wicked Lady. Here it was it Black Lady or Dark Lady? I can't 100% remember the terminology, but yeah, I think it's the Black Lady when it comes to that. But anyways, she gets abducted, she gets transformed. And then, everyone else is worried. Where does she go? Pluto has a feeling that that something has happened to her. And then the Sailor Scouts of the past get word of this. And then Tuxedo Mask is kind of the first one that goes into the time vortex, essentially, to try to figure out where does she go. But after that, they go back. The Sailor Scouts go back into the future. All right, so correction, it's Venus that goes back into the future. I forgot that Sailor Moon is still abducted by Diamond at this point. So basically, Sapphire came to see Sailor Moon, who was still abducted at this point. And, Sapphire blames Sailor Moon that he's lost the respect of Diamond because of Diamond's obsession with the Neo Queen Serenity, essentially, and was going to end up killing her. However, Serena was able to get the power from the crystal and was able to transform and was able to stop Sapphire at that point. So throughout the volume here, they were able to reunite with the Sailor Scouts, and we start to have these particular battles with Wise Man, Diamond, and Sapphire. So the whole premise behind it is that they start to realize that Sapphire and Diamond are being played by Wise Man, that they're starting to realize that he is the one that has been emerged with the planet called Nemesis. So when Diamond and Sapphire confront the Wise Man, they essentially kill his dead corpse, essentially, because he's basically a skeleton at this point, an essence of skeleton, and then he basically morphs into Nemesis, which is also called Dark Phantom at that point. So they realize that they are being kind of played a little bit by Nemesis, otherwise known as the planet. And I'm trying to remember here. So Sapphire and Prince Diamond, they are then re-hypnotized, whatever you want to call it, re-controlled by the planet, essentially. And also a new quote-unquote villain emerges, which is the Black Lady, which is aka the Wicked Lady. I'm going to call it the Wicked Lady because that's just what I have grown up with, being the grown-up dark version of Rini at that point. So after that, they try to go ahead and they try to find out where Rini is, and then the scouts were able to figure out that she has been controlled with the Dark Moon. Essentially, they realize it, and then they start to have another battle, which was end up happening was that the Dark Crystal was starting to basically grow out of control, get a lot of power, because now that the Silver Crystal has awoken, because Sailor Moon was able to activate it in the future, the Dark Crystal was also getting that power from it. So in the future, they were sorry. They are having the issue where the dark crystal is starting to basically grow and take over Earth, essentially, of the future. So they had to deal with that situation. With that being said, Diamond was able to get control of both crystals and were getting ready to merge it together. It got to the point where Diana went back to talk to Pluto, say, hey, the scouts need your help. They're losing this battle. Can you do something to rectify the situation? So Pluto goes back, and right before the two silver crystals were about to touch, because Diamond wanted to have that power, basically Sailor Pluto does the unthinkable. Well, kind of unthinkable. But let me kind of go ahead and highlight this a little bit. But basically, Pluto is kind of, I want to say she's OP, but it's hard to really say that she's OP. So, Sailor Pluto, basically there's this 3 power elements, otherwise known as taboos. And basically Neo Queen Serenity said that that she has to abide by these taboos. And one of them was that she is the protector of the space-time door. You are the guardian who governs over space and time. There are 3 taboos which you must not break. The first is you must not move time. Second, you must never move far from this door you guard. And then the final taboo, which will come down here, is that if I can quickly find it here, is that she should not stop time, because if she were to stop time, then it will cause her death. So probably the most overpowered element came into play, almost as powerful as death itself with Sailor Saturn, which will come in a later manga volume. Kind of a little bit of a spoiler there, but Pluto essentially stops time long enough. And what's interesting about it is that it's kind of a directed attack. Like, she was able to stop time at the target she wishes, but everything else that's not affected by it can move, which is, again, timey-wimey stuff, and that's kind of the biggest thing. They don't go too much detail into it, but that's the best I can say, is that her staff has the ability to stop time at a directed target. And in this case, it was obviously right here, Prince Diamond with the 2 silver crystals, but at the cost of her life. So at first, I'm okay with this, because dealing with time, you know, there's got to be some significant consequences with dealing with such an overpowered ability. I'll talk more about the issues I have with that a little bit later. So anyways, they were able to get the crystals back, and Black Lady here, or a Wicked Lady, realizes that, you know, Pluto saved her life, and she was able to overcome the black crystal's effect on her. She was able to shatter the basically earrings that was controlling her, and she was able to get her power back. And with that, she also awoken the other future silver crystal, and now she was able to transform for the first time. So again, a lot of people complain that Rini is kind of the brat and everything. Yeah, she definitely is. However, again, we talk about that hero's journey, that you got to overcome obstacles. And let's just say that with her being a brat, she caused a ton of problems, to include issues with time and space. But by the end of it, you know, she kind of comes around and realizes what she's done. And as a result, now she has earned the passage to become a scout. So kind of a 180 effect from the original, from volume 4, where she seemed to be the really big brat. She caused all these problems, and then she eventually got taken up by Wise Man, and she was able to do a 180, realizing that, you know, unfortunately, it came at the price of a life, being Sailor Pluto. So with that, they were able to fight off the power here together with Nemesis, and along with Diamond and Sapphire, they get kind of defeated. But then, once they think they defeated Wise Man, then we go into the planet Nemesis, And then now we get introduced to Dark Phantom as the primary, or Death Phantom, excuse me, I've been saying that wrong. Death Phantom, which is basically Nemesis that they have to defeat. Yeah, and one thing I did forget to mention was that when Sailor Moon was also captured with Sapphire, Neo Queen Serenity also lent her power to Sailor Moon so that way she can transform, so kind of awakening essentially from her sleep state. But anyways, they were able to restore Crystal Tokyo from when they defeated kind of the body of Wise Man before, and he went to the planet. So now they have to defeat the planet since they defeated the effects on Earth. So it's kind of a part 1, part 2, stage 1, stage 2 type of battle here. But we've got Crystal Tokyo in all its glory. Again, this is really the big thing I liked about Sailor Moon. I wish we could have explored Crystal Tokyo's lore a little bit more, but I love the concept of you got this glimmering crystal city in Tokyo that kind of has a monarch system with Neo Queen Serenity and King Indaman. I wish we could have seen more of that, but that is not to be, unfortunately. So anyways, we've got the great awakening of Neo Queen Serenity, and she is able to heal the scouts of the future. And then we still have the planet to deal with. So go ahead and fast forward through here. So now we got the fight with Sailor Moon, Tuxedo Mask of the past. And now they've got to deal with Nemesis, the Phantom Planet. So we got some great moments in here. Great love story, as always. And go ahead and... Again, this is just another wonderful shot of Crystal Tokyo. I really wish we could see more of that. But anyways, Neo Queen Serenity of the future was able to heal the city and then go from there. So then we've got... I probably passed it already. Yeah, I already passed it. So kind of to rewind a little bit, because of the love and power with the crystal between Sailor Moon and Tuxedo Mask, they were able to actually defeat Nemesis. And because of their love and their power, the New Light was able to destroy Dark, or Death Phantom, essentially. Along with Rini, they both do their attack between the power of the future, Silver Crystal, and in the past, Silver Crystal. They're able to defeat the Death Phantom. So, another thing here that's kind of interesting. Again, we talk about all sorts of timey-wimey stuff. But even in the manga, the author addresses that... you know, the past self and her future self should not meet. I'm trying to see if I can find that reference here. So yeah, here it is right here. So I'll go ahead and read it to you guys. It's kind of funny because the author is self-aware that there's a lot of timey-wimey stuff that they're trying to explain, but I'll show you what happens. That's right. It's not possible for more than one of the same person to occupy the same space and time. I guess I can't meet the queen. So guess what happens? Just in a few sections later, they meet. So there is the future of her and the present day. So again, I don't know how this doesn't create a paradox. This is just one of those things that I'm going to press the I believe button and ignore. Again, from a writing perspective, it has a ton of flaws. Like, this should not happen. This should essentially phase the past out, phasing out the future. And it is what it is. So, but anyways, so now the past Serena knows what the future Serena is going to be. And life moves on. So, yeah, it's very interesting. And then at this point, it's time for Rini to go away, and she eventually goes back to the future. And I would have been okay if she would have stayed in the future because, you know, just by common sense and by our definition of time, there's no way she could have stayed. Because eventually, you know, time's going to catch up to when she's going to eventually have, you know, Rini in the future. And then, you know, it's going to create a whole bunch more of issues. But just when we think she is gone, you know, everyone's reminiscing that about Rini and everything, that they're going to miss her. She then comes right back. So, yeah, and then we go into the next volume as a sneak peek, and I won't talk about that until next volume. So, 4 and 5, the volumes are interesting because it introduces time, and I think it's a cardinal sin to really introduce time and space as a power and B, an element into the writing. It has to be really well flushed out. And for the most part, they tried to do that and tried to acknowledge it. However, the problem is that you have the past self meeting their future self. And I think that in itself should create some sort of paradox or some time anomaly. You know, you're going to have the butterfly effect, essentially. And as from a writing perspective, it's like you have these villains going into the past to try to take over the past. But the problem is that, you know, you get the butterfly effect. If they mess with anything in the past or end up killing Serena and the scouts in the past, you know, that could potentially affect them in the future because all those events lead up to them gaining power in the future. So, in my opinion, 4 and 5 definitely the weaker storylines when it comes to Sailor Moon. And just the introduction of time really makes things messy. And then with Sailor Pluto, you know, I would be okay with her powers considering that, you know, she had these 3 basic rules. Okay, fine. They at least made the attempt to talk about how time was going to be handled in respect to the lore. And, you know, I'm okay. You know, this may be a icy take, but I agree with Pluto dying. But the problem is I also have hindsight. And if a lot of your Mooney fans out there, you guys know that Sailor Pluto comes back, which causes a lot of problems because now what essentially happened, it didn't really explicitly show you in the volume, but because Neo Queen Serenity was able to heal the planet, bring everyone back essentially, it was implied that Sailor Pluto also came back. The problem with this is that now you have a very OP power that can be used at any time. And then, you know, in theory, the silver crystal can now heal people. So what's not to say that Pluto can just stop time for any time they fight in the future and have, you know, the silver crystal then heal her after sacrificing herself. So you can see the circular problem when it comes to attack and how overpowered stopping time is. And that's going to be a problem whenever Sailor Pluto is assisting in the fight. So, yeah, she got a major OP buff, and the fact that she was able to be healed by the Silver Crystal of the future. One can say that the Silver Crystal of the past is still not powered up, for the lack of a better phrase, from the future, but it causes a lot of problems, I think, in the later volumes, because now you have Sailor Pluto that can stop time with any time she fights. So that's why 4 and 5 is really tough to get through because of the element of time. And at the very end, you know, you had Sailor Moon and Neo Queen Serenity meeting each other. It's like, that is such a paradox in itself because now you have the past Serena who knows what the future Serena is going to look like. And it's like, it really messes with the mind because now you subconsciously had to think that all the actions that you do in the present is going to somehow lead to the future, which in itself should create a different universe because of that. It gets so crazy. The best way that I can think about it is that the future is they went into a different dimension. That's the only way I can make sense of it all, is that going through the gate that Sailor Pluto creates is a different dimension or multiverse, ascension, quote unquote multiverse, since that's the common phrase nowadays thanks to Marvel. But that's the best way I can describe it. But again, it's not explained in here. It's really messy when it comes to time. So um, it did give me my favorite fantasy place, which is Crystal Tokyo. Don't get me wrong, Crystal Tokyo is my most favorite thing about Sailor Moon, and that what if of, could we have seen what a superpower Neo Queen Serenity could have been with King Indamu, and seeing that um, monarch over a united Earth. I would have loved to see that in its glory, but we only really get to see that near the end in Volume 5. But um, yeah, so that's pretty much my review of 5. Again, I have a lot of problems with the time aspect. When I was a kid, I didn't think about it too much, and I actually loved the idea of time travel, but the more I started to study writing and get a little bit more mature in understanding it and critically think about the writing and the plots and the story and so forth. Volume 4 and 5 together have a lot of issues with the concept of time. And unfortunately, they create a very OP Sailor Pluto that we will never see that power of time stop again. I could be wrong about that. Again, I'm rereading all the mangas just to make sure, but if that power is used again, then I'll say, hey, you were wrong in the last video. So, but anyways, again, the power of time is ridiculous. I would even say it's even more powerful than Sailor Saturn, because Sailor Saturn has the power to destroy a planet. However, how can you actually activate the ability, skill, and power if Sailor Pluto can just stop you? So, yeah, again, a lot of problems with the fact that she was able to stop time. Great. It was a great power to see, and was definitely needed for the sake of the plot. But again, the implications of that is definitely lore breaking, in my opinion, and now a power struggle. I think, how do you balance that out? Because yeah, she can die, but then you also created the element of healing from the silver crystal, so it gets kind of complicated, and yeah, not the greatest in my opinion. But with that, guys, that is a wrap up of Volume 5. And with that, I'll see you on the next video.